Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we've got a good video coming up for you. We're going to be talking about the 6.5 Creedmoor. For today's video and the 6.5 Creedmoor, we're going to be talking about what would be the best bullet selection for the Creedmoor. Is it more of the traditional 143 grain ELDX? Is it going to be something like an ELDM, a Nosler, a Barnes bullet? We'll get into the numbers. We'll take a look at it. We're going to use real velocities from my Tikka T3X light. It has a 24-inch barrel, and we try to push the velocities a little bit more than you would find in just your standard factory ammunition for the 6.5 Creedmoor. So hope you enjoy. Here in our Spear reloading manual, we can take a look here at the 6.5 Creedmoor. We have a typical case capacity of 51.7 grains. Now, I know with this Lapua brass that we are currently using that the number is a little bit different, but we're going to operate based off that 51.7 grains and a max pressure of 62,000 psi. For the sake of this video, let's take a look here just in this book. We have bullets down, clear down around 90 grains and clear up to 140 grains in this manual, but we have bullets up to 144 grains. This EOL here goes up to 156 grains. So we have quite a range going from 90 grains clear up to this 156 grain EOL. So let's get into it. Let's take a look at the numbers and the footage and let's narrow it down. What bullet do you guys think is going to be the best bullet? Here's a list of a few of the common bullets in 6.5 millimeter. We've got some ultralight ones right around that 100 grain mark, right around 120 grains is fairly light for the Creedmoor, 130 grains. And then you start getting into the heavier bullets that are available in the Creedmoor, such as that 143 grain ELDX. That's a pretty common bullet, if not the most common bullet you'll find in factory ammunition for a 6.5 Creedmoor. Then there are the ultra heavy, ultra high BC bullets, which all have a BC right around 0.7. This is the Precision Hunter ammunition loaded with the 143 grain ELDX, which has a BC of 0.625. One thing to note here is that with a muzzle velocity of 2,700 feet per second, that's the box posted velocity, and the maximum range, or the range at which you go below 2,000 feet per second, is 503 yards. Now, that number is important because that's going to be one of the metrics that we use to compare between all these hand loads that are about to come on the screen. 143 ELDX out of the Tikka T3X. Shot 1 was 28.25. Here's shot 2. The first question I always ask is it really worth hand loading the cartridge, or should I just stick with factory ammunition? Well, taking a look at the velocity difference between the factory ammunition and the hand loaded ammunition is quite drastic. It's on average 117 feet per second difference, which in the long run might not sound like a whole lot, but it adds about 75 yards of range for that bullet. So hand loading is definitely going to be worth it in the 6.5 Creedmoor. Let's look at the numbers with all the other bullets. So to start, we're going to start on that right side in the middle with the 143 grain ELDX. That data is the same data that was on the previous slide, but it has a BC of 0.625, and with a muzzle velocity of 2,817, our max range is going to be 575 yards with an energy at the muzzle of 2,519 yards. Going to that top left corner with the ELD VT bullet that is 100 grains, we have a muzzle velocity of 3,250 feet per second, which is by far the fastest you're going to get out of a Creedmoor. That light bullet really aids in velocity, and we can see that with that velocity out at those extended ranges, it's going to lead us to have the flattest trajectory out of all of these bullets. Energy is going to be lacking though, so if you're worried about energy, you might want to stray away from that 100 grain bullet. But if you're looking for something fast and flat, whether that be for like pronghorn, deer, or varmint shooting, that 100 grain bullet would be an awesome choice. The next bullet on our list is the 127 grain LRX. Now, this bullet is not the highest BC bullet. It's not going to be the outstanding bullet that you're looking for, but if you want a copper bullet that is going to be solid, is going to work amazing, look no further. The LRX, I would argue, is the best copper bullet on the market. Now, in the 6.5 Creedmoor, it's not going to be the fastest, it's not going to be the flattest, and, well, it's not going to carry the most energy downrange. However, what it does bring is a good balance between velocity, drop, and energy. It's not going to be the worst thing you could shoot, it's not going to be the best, but it's going to just be that solid, good option right in the middle. Then on the heavier end, we have the 143 grain ELDX with that BC of 0.625. Hand loaded, we can go significantly faster, and we already went over these numbers. So moving on to the 156 grain EOL. This is about as heavy as the bullet as you will find for the 6.5 Creedmoor. And hand loading, I think you're not really going to get much better than 2,700 feet per second from the muzzle. But I will say that BC of 0.679 definitely helps with the energy downrange. So if you're in a hunting situation and you really want something heavy, you could go with the EOL. It's going to have the most energy. However, your flight path isn't going to be as flat as some of the others. Here are some of those bullets that we had talked about in front of us. We have the Burger EOLs, the 143 grain ELDX, that 127 grain LRX. You've also got the 100 grain ELDVT, or something like the Nosler ballistic tip that comes in a number of weights. Personally, I'm not going to use the EOL, especially in a Creedmoor. I just don't have the velocity, and expansion is not going to be the greatest, so that's automatically out. Now we're down to these bullets here. I think for target shooting, the ELDX can be very consistent, but for hunting, your expansion's just not going to be quite what you want. So for that reason, I would take out the ELDX for an overall best, just because it's not going to be a great hunting bullet. Then we get down to kind of these here. We're towards the lighter end of bullets for the Creedmoor, which goes to our benefit because that case is so small. With that smaller case, you're really not going to be able to get those great velocities with the bigger bullets. Now, it being a 6.5 millimeter, the BCs are going to be pretty good down lower. So if you're hunting big game like mule deer, whitetails, things like that, I really think going with something like this 127 LRX is going to be a great option. That 127 LRX has a good BC. It's a solid copper bullet that you can get good velocity with. So you'll get that expansion, you'll get that penetration. That's kind of what I would go with for an all-around bullet. If I'm going for more of a varmint round, this 120 grain ballistic tip will work great. It'll be going faster. It'll be fairly flat. The BC, it's not going to be the best, but it is going to get the job done with varmints, and even into deer, it'll work. And then this ELD-VT, for a little target bullet within 500 yards, I found the VT to be fairly accurate and do decent. It does have its accuracy issues, but if you give it time, I think it could turn out to be a really good load. So for the 6.5 Creedmoor, I would try to go with something on a little bit of the lighter end, whether that be the 100 grain ELD-VT, something like the Nosler ballistic tip, or the Barnes LRX. It's really up to you. Do you want something more of a solid copper, the light and fast, or just a classic, more styled hunting bullet?